I think it's fair to say that while I agree with you, the left is absolutely just saying by any means necessary, and the right is saying slow down their Democrats.
The left is breaking rule of law. What they're doing is it's not justifiable and it's not fair. And the English common law was established in the 12th century under a certain context with a certain aim in charge. And this was not the end point of the context or the aim that we were trying to reach. And you have to parallel the left for where they're at. And it's quite, I'm trying to articulate something complicated where in crisis periods like this, you set precedents that you can't go back. And so if you compare the English Civil War to the French Revolution, in the English Civil War, you had a political crisis, and at the end of it, England became a democracy with rule of law, and in France, it spiraled into being a military dictatorship.
Yeah.
And these are very different outcomes, and you have to be careful about not establishing precedents that future generations can look to, because if you go to Latin America, there's a lot of countries in Latin America, like Argentina, Argentina's more white than America, it has a temperate climate. And Argentina's poor because they don't have rule of law, where if you can't establish a company and assume that a social superior is not going to steal your company, you can't have a capitalist economy.
So let me ask you this question. What is wrong with a military dictatorship?
So there's multiple tiers. 95+% of regimes in history are authoritarian. And authoritarian is one strong man on top who runs everything. There's tiers, though, where some of them are enlightened. And when you look at authors like Aristotle, they were talking about the benefits of monarchy. And I'm not a monarchist. But monarchy is you have a long-term incentive for the leader to care about the population. And that works a lot better than something like the Soviet Union.
Well, I wanted to ask you specifically about what you mentioned what's going on today. You compared that to, say, the British or the French. So my question is more so, what would be bad about the United States becoming a military dictatorship?
The military would be, you could have a situation where the military is corrupt, it shuts down capitalism, it shuts down freedom, it shuts down the functioning of a society, and the good things we take for granted die, and those things are fundamentally dependent on freedom.
What if a military dictatorship emerged in the United States that was based entirely upon traditional American conservatism, and the military by force said, we're not going to allow leftism anymore, we're not going to allow the courts to supersede the will of the people, and they just, through military rigidity, enforced the right cultural worldview?